probably like this, like seven.
Wow.
And it was probably
Hey, Kevin.
something like this. You know, 5 or 6 or 7 things on the consent agenda, just gonna go, no questions asked, just pay that. One thing on the bottom.
Right.
And
Boom, done.
And Houdini's working? Houdini?
It's on right now.
Hello, Houdini.
he's looking at you, Steve.
Yeah, no, you're right, staring right
I
at me.
know.
Yeah.
Stare down.
Just remember,
Now.
I got this. All right, are we ready? I call the order 6 o'clock. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Joe, would you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Robinson,
Here.
Mayor Feldman,
Here.
Councilmember Bauer,
Here.
Councilmember Hodge.
Here.
All right, thank you. Okay. Do I have a motion tonight to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Udvig makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Bauer makes that second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Moving on to tonight's consent agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make a motion, Mayor.
Councilor Robinson makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Udvig makes a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving on tonight, meeting open to the public. Joe, do we have anyone?
Now would be the time for anyone to
Mayor, point of roll call, need to be.
Oh, gosh, we did do a roll call. Yeah, we did.
Did we?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, you have to start first.
We did, okay.
Sorry, never mind.
Well, correct me anytime. All right, do we have meeting open to the public or anybody?
Nobody signed up. Does anyone want to address the council tonight for?
I gave you the sheet, Joe.
Okay, all right,
Joe, I put it right in front of you.
okay. Then moving right on to old business, item 8A, dwelling single unit detached ordinance 283, second series, second reading, and resolution 2021 XX authorizing summary publication.
Mayor and Council, before you tonight is a second reading request for a code amendment. This is to address, we had a building permit come in with a design style that didn't fit our residential requirements. The household was not eligible for variance, so instead we took the path of updating the code to allow various types of architecture in our single-family homes. Tonight is a second reading. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
No, thank you, Kate. You know, I did see that the verbiage was changed, that a flat roof must shed water having some degree of slope. I think that's a good thing. I think that protects us on all levels. And then it's up to, of course, the discretion of our building official to what degree he'll look at the plans, of course, as he does. So I don't have any questions on it. I think it's good. I think it took the gray area out. Kevin, your comments on this?
I have no questions, I think we vetted it out pretty good the last time, so I'm good.
Right, Rob?
I too am, still concerned with the flat roof, just being an option in the city of St. Francis. But, needing the votes and knowing how the votes would come out, I'm going to push this along with the verbiage is really good, but, not having another councilman to at least make the four votes, I will vote yes for this.
All right, thank you, Rob. Sarah, your comments?
I'm seconding what Councilmember Robinson said. We've discussed
Okay.
this in time.
Yeah, I will emphasize once again that I think that verbiage change really helps us out. I mean, it makes it so that it cannot be a flat roof. There has to be a slope and drainage to it. So I think that pretty much states it simply and takes any gray area out of it. So do we need 2 motions for both the publication, the second part, and then of course the ordinance itself? Correct. Okay. So do I have a motion to adopt the dwelling single unit detached ordinance 283 second series, second reading with the verbiage change that we have a flat roof must shed water having some degree of slope?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Councilor Robinson makes that motion. Do I have a second? Councilor Udvig makes a second. We'll do a roll call.
Councilmember Robinson,
Aye.
Mayor Feldman,
Aye.
Councilmember Bauer,
Aye.
Councilmember Hodge.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, Kate, you have your direction on what to do there. Okay, now do I have a motion tonight for adopting a resolution 2021 XX authorizing summary of publication? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Councilor Robinson makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Bauer makes a second. Barring any discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. All right, moving on to new business, city staffing discussion. Joe?
Honorable Mayor and Council, before you tonight is a potential transition plan with the vacant city clerk position. As noted in the staff report, logistically, there's gonna be some things coming up this fall with business licensing, and then some of the election training, for next year, as well as the open enrollment. So we'd like to see a smooth transition for this position if at all possible. And then potentially we could backfill the deputy clerk accounting tech role, if we moved our deputy clerk and appointed her as the city clerk.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. All right, thank you, Joe. I just want to go on record here and state a couple things here, in my opinion, okay? Whenever you have competent people in-house, I think this is very important, that we should always make that option first before we go out of house, and I will give you a couple examples. Before Jason was hired at Public Works, I went out and reached out to Jeremy and Parrish to be Public Works directors. They didn't want it. They didn't want to take the administration end of everything on with meetings and everything else that goes with that job. And so we went out of house and we found Jason, okay? But in-house, Jody was taken from her position in the front now to code compliance and doing an excellent job. And just recently, with the liquor muni for a full-time employee, we have Corrine, who was here for 7 years part-time, who's opened up the liquor store and done very well, and now she's full-time, and the transition was very smooth. No kinks at all in it, because she was very familiar with how our system worked, and she didn't need to be trained because she was already trained in. So I would suggest that for the future now, if situations like this arise, when we have, again, someone in-house that's competent and wants the job, we should start there first on a trial basis and then take it from there. Also, I would like to say to council, as was brought up, that someone didn't really know that individual well, I would just say for the record here, that it isn't the responsibility of staff to get to know the council members. It's the responsibility of the council members to get to know the staff. For instance, for myself anyways, as far as the police, there's 14 people in the police department. I know 6 of them. I don't know the other 8, okay? In the Public Works department, I know everyone. In administration, I know everyone. So once again, I just say to you that if you want to get to know these people, it isn't part of their job description to know council members thoroughly. It's for us to get to know them. And it's very easy by calling them up, setting up a meeting, coming to discuss things with them, and you get a feel for them. This individual that now will be moved into the situation, in this position rather, has been with us very well, very long, over 2+ years, and has done an exceptional job in the area that she's been in. And I remember in the second interview with her, she always said she wanted a place to be long term. She learns quickly, and she wants to know how everything fits together. And she's lived up to all that, in my opinion. So I would just suggest once again that we look in-house when we can, and if we don't have someone in-house that's competent, we go out-of-house. That will make it a lot easier in the long run, I think, for all of us. And I think that it gives a chance for an individual in-house to be able to advance themselves in the same organization. Otherwise, as today, we're facing a police officer leaving because there's no room for advancement in our position, as we have a limited positions available. Where here, in this particular situation, we have someone who can move up in the chain of command and will help us too. It's a benefit that works all the way around. So on that, I will just take some comments from Sarah. I'll start with you.
I agree with this move. I think that the person that will be moving into this position has been performing very well, and I think she will fit in just perfect, and things will run smoothly. So I'm happy to see her get the job that she deserves.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Kevin, your comments, any?
I would like to make a motion to table this until we have a full council in place. I have nothing against the individual we're talking about. I was fortunate or unfortunate to be a part of the vetting process as well, and I have some concerns about additional education background. I mean, the election process was missing. Now, don't shake your head, Mayor. I had an opportunity.
Yeah, I know you did.
But just because inside is the easy way doesn't make it the right way. But, I'd like to discuss this further at either a work session or the next time around at council, but I would like also full council to be in play if we move ahead with this.
Well, I will tell you that Joe Muehlbauer is on board with this decision of Jenny. I will tell you that. And I don't really see another reason to delay this because we now are already 3 months behind, if not more. In this particular situation, because people were being able to help this other individual out, it delayed their work from being done and it's pushed us farther back. We don't have the time for any more meetings or concerns on this. We should move forward with this when we have somebody competent, as I stated. If we would have done this before, we wouldn't be in the situation today. So I myself will hold firmly to say, no more discussion about it. We need to move forward fast and efficient. This person can do the job.
Well, you asked me for my opinion, and
I
I
gave
finished
you, and
that.
I've got your opinion, and I appreciate that, but I
Very
also have 4 other members' opinions already.
I'm done speaking.
Rob, your opinion? Or
Well, I have to agree with
Democracy.
Kevin on this. I work for a very large county. And I would be appalled if all the powers that be just said, I want that person because they think that they're a good employee. Everyone's a great employee. If we want to hire a city clerk, open it up internally through the city, there might be a handful of people that want to be city clerk for the city of St. Francis internally. We just can't keep picking people that we think this person is the greatest person ever. And you multiply this city by the county I work for, and there's 10 times as many employees. You got a different feel for how you do promotions and upgrade and all those things in that realm. Yes, we're a very small city, but we need a city clerk. If the city administrator walked out of here today, we'd have to appoint one of our leadership to be an interim, but I don't see why we need to hire a city clerk based on no interviews, no experience of being a city clerk. I just don't want to set someone up for failure. I'm all for tabling this. If we want to say interim deputy clerk or city clerk, I'm fine with that. Work in the interim until we can vet this a little bit more, so.
All right, but you understand something. Her job description today is assistant city clerk. Assistant, okay? And through this last 3 months, she's actually been doing that job, more so than ever before. So you have some comments, sir, you want to mention?
Well, I was just gonna say that the employees all already had the opportunity to interview. They chose not to,
But she did.
but she did, and she, from what I understood, it seemed like she interviewed well and everything was fine. So I'm, I don't know, I mean, so we do an internal and she's the only one who applies. Are you then gonna say, oh, well, we need to open it back up? And now, I mean, elections are gonna be here sooner than we know. And believe you me, we do not wanna be the city that screws up. I
Not today.
really don't think we wanna be the city who screws up.
Well, how about if we do a compromise here? How about if we do a compromise in this situation? How about if we try a 60-day trial period with this individual? And at the end of the 60 days, we see with the feedback from staff and what we see and all that for 60 days, then we come back here and make it permanent, or we don't, or we go out to interview after that period of time. Because what was happening right now is we're getting slower, we're getting more stuff on our plate and not being able to handle it because we have a job situation here that for 3 months has been wasted. So mistakes were made. We have to learn from the mistakes and go forward. I suggest again, we go for 60-day trial period, putting this individual in here. We will know within 60 days if she can handle it or not. My belief is she can, and we'll be proven after 60 days. If after that doesn't work once again, we go out of house for interviews.
I also am concerned that, this employee is, this is her second shot at this per se. And if we're just saying, well, the council still just doesn't really know. That's kind of a slam to her. And she's done an excellent job. She's been doing the city clerk position for the most part this whole time, and we're still gonna sit here and go, well, maybe not. And that's not, to me, that's not showing our employee that we value them and we believe in them. And I just think that's it's not showing any good faith on my part. Like, I know without a doubt that she can do it. And had we gone that way, we would be further ahead because she would have had time when Barb was still there, and Barb could have showed her a lot of more stuff. So, we didn't sit and argue about this with the full-time employee. We were fine. Oh, it's in-house, oh, that's great. We didn't sit there and whine and cry about that one, but we're gonna fuss over this because there's some conflicts of interest, per se, with some of the people doing the interviews. I think we need to come up with either an outside interview committee or, something with just a certain committee that does all the interviews and makes the recommendations, because I think this gets too mucky when we involve, just one of the council members gets to be a part of it. I don't think that works the best. And nothing against you, Kevin. I wouldn't want to be the one council person who was, I like how we interviewed for Jason. I like that. I like the whole open where we got to ask questions. I like that format. I think it worked well.
Right, but understand something, just because someone interviews properly, really well, doesn't mean they can do the job. And
That's
what we found
true.
out here. So let's just ask our city administrator, okay, your opinion on this, okay?
Well, I think, most importantly, we need to continue processing city business, right? So some of the issues we have, if you make her an interim on a 60-day trial basis, that delays any backfilling of her job as the accounting tech for the city. So she processes all the payroll, all the invoices, everything you see in front of you tonight under claims. So, we want to get moving and start moving forward from where we're at today. And any kind of delay or going back out just gets us further and further behind timeline-wise.
And we do have a 6-month probation period in place.
6-month probation period would start over for this particular individual going forward. So it would just be like hiring anyone else from the outside, maybe on this.
And she did apply for the job in the beginning.
She was also the interim in between Barb for a short time there.
Yeah, I just can't emphasize enough that time is of the essence here, because we've already gone through 90 days and now we're right back to grid one here. If we put it out here, we're only going to be farther behind. And then again, with elections coming down the road, and all this country has this feeling about elections not being above board and all that, we don't need any designation or any problems coming about on an election that would stand out to the media. That we don't need, especially with elections coming next year for us. So I understand some of the concerns of council and all that, but I think for the good of the city, we need to move forward. Again, with a 6-month probation period in play, I think that will allow us to have our last say there in that time frame. Again, staff will let us know, and we have the ability then to hire that position that she would move from. That would make continuity, which I think is important. Dave, you have anything to say about this at all?
Just procedurally, what we've got going on right now is that Councilmember Robinson made a motion. There has not been anyone that has said that they have seconded right now. The next step is to see if there is a second. If there is not, it just goes back to discussion and a new motion can be made.
Also, I didn't get to finish, I was interrupted, I did not get to finish my statement. And Mayor, I'm sorry you feel the way you do. I didn't say I was against the person that was in the potential position to fill this position. I had some questions, about payroll, her salary and steps, etc. But most importantly, I was part of the vetting process. There was some concerns also about credentials. There's the advancement of education if a person wants to advance himself within a position, they then commit themselves either to further their education in some capacity, with their certifications. There's other things to be done out there. She didn't get the job in the first place because she didn't have the same credentials. We had other candidates that had accredited situations to be election judges. fulfill some of the obligations of the city clerk. I have nothing against the individual at all, and I really, it's kind of gotten construed that way. That's wrong, that's the wrong impression, and it shouldn't be sent out that way. But again, I want to talk about how much they're gonna make. I mean, again, just because it's from the inside doesn't, make it, it's easy to do from the inside, doesn't make it right. I'm not opposed, and I'm all for compromise, if I'm, when I'm allowed to finish speaking. But, within the 60 days, I would like to see this individual step up and say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna fulfill this, and fulfill this. I came from the school of hard knocks too. I have no college degree, but I've gotten somewhere in my lifetime. I just want this individual, I know there was, in every person's life, there's a way of family and work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in some cases, some things are more important in a person's life than their career. This is a big job. I want to be filled with somebody who's got the big feet to put in those big shoes, as it were. So just because you don't like my idea or my opinion doesn't mean I should be interrupted and stopped when Sarah gets to talk far longer about why we should, and I never got to finish my explanation of why we should take a deeper look at it. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. We have a situation here where we're at a standstill because, again, the person that we had filled that position from the interviews that we did claimed that they could do all the things that we required and have the education. As it turns out, that didn't pan out. Again, and a good interviewer doesn't make the person be able to do the job. I say, my thought is because we have the 6-month probation in place, we have our way out there, but I can tell you that this person has been around for 2+ years in the city, and that's really well in the position she's in. It gives her a chance to advance even farther in this position, which means we'll be able to hang on to her longer. And I've also believed, and I started out, by the way, in my job as the lowest of the low in a grunt, filling up dumpsters in my profession. But what I did learn is on the job. And even when I went overseas in the combat, I learned on the job. And I've learned that on job is not a bad way to learn. You really actually, if you have the ability, you can pick up a lot more through that than through a book. So I have confidence in this person, otherwise I wouldn't even go along with this. I still think we should have had, maybe, if I look back at the past, we could have done this for 60 days with a 30-day overlap with the previous city clerk, in which may have been in a better position today, but we're not there. So the question is, how long do we want to delay this and keep delaying this and put more burden on the staff around them and taking them away from the important business they have to do on a daily basis and a future basis, which is what's happened in the past. I mean, if we continue this way, the 3 months will grow into 6 months, and before you know it, it'll be the first year we'll be talking about elections and things like that. We were told that we had someone that could come in running, but didn't even get to first base. That is something that, it just fell through the system in the cracks. I'm not saying anything negative about the person, it's just that it just didn't work out. And this situation here, we have somebody here that has a track record that can do a job. Whether she can do the full job or not, that will remain to be seen. But with a 6-month probation period in place, we have our protection at that level. And we can hopefully have some continuity and get further down the road. That's my point. So, Rob, do you have anything else to say on this?
I do, yes.
Please.
I know about 2.5, 3 years ago maybe, we were talking about getting rid of the city clerk position and having the city administrator / city clerk position, and then hiring some sort of fashion in that realm. So my question is, how did we get here today with a totally opposite way of thinking? My suggestion would be, in the interim, and I'll see if Kevin will go along with this, maybe you guys will go along with it as well. We make the city administrator / city clerk in the interim, and he delegates all city clerk tasks to our deputy city clerk, and if she can handle it in 6 months, we review this again.
So we did talk about that a few years ago.
Yes.
Correct. So what has happened is the building activity has skyrocketed and it's consumed our front office staff under community development. So when we were talking about that, 4 years ago, building activity was much slower. That is not the case right now. So Kate will attest to that. So effectively, all of the administration has just been consumed with processing building permits and code enforcement and so on and so forth, right? To the point where it's just not a realistic possibility anymore, just due to workload. And with elections and everything else coming up, this position needs to be filled. There's no question about it. You're gonna be processing business. So if we go out, let's say we delay it and we're gonna go and post it and take applications, and interviews, I mean, that's a 4 to 6 week process, and then someone has to give their 2 weeks notice and come back. I don't know if we're into October or November at that time. I mean, it would set us back quite a bit if we do that, quite frankly. Whereas if you were to make her the city clerk and then backfill her position, you can get an accounting tech in here quickly while she does double duty doing accounting and city clerk with Darcy. I mean, we're gonna be hitting double time.
So couldn't we hire a clerk? Even if she's the deputy, and we hire a clerk to basically backfill those positions, her workload isn't gonna change. Whether you're the city clerk / city administrator or not, her workload's not gonna change. If we backfill, then we have someone to split that workload, and we can see if she can handle the workload. And if she can't, then we don't promote her. But it sounds like we're saying that we need another city employee, but we don't really want to hire her now. We have all the employees, we're gonna promote her and then hire someone else.
For her position.
So are we gonna pay Joe more for being both?
If Joe walked out of here, we're not gonna ask one of the department heads, we're not gonna give them more money to be the interim city administrator until we can bring someone in.
But we're not gonna drop that full, like, you can't drop a city clerk on Joe, you can't drop it on Kate or Darcy or anybody else, because then you're giving them 2 different jobs, and one of those jobs is gonna suffer. One of
I'm
those
not
jobs is
asking,
gonna suffer.
I'm giving him the
And
role.
who's he gonna give it to? He's gonna give it to
his deputy city clerk that you guys want to promote, and you're saying that she can't handle the workload.
We didn't
Even though
say she
his-
can't
Can I
handle the
just interject
workload.
for 1 second? Can I just interject here 1 second for all of us here? You know, we don't know the inner workings of staff, okay? We may think we do, we don't, okay? You're not there on a daily basis, I'm not there on a daily basis, Sarah isn't, Kevin isn't, right? It's like when I'm talking to about engineering, I'm talking to Craig and I'm bowing to his expertise, okay? When I'm talking to Joe raising monies for certain things like parks and all that stuff and all that we're gonna be doing future road program, I bow to his expertise. When I'm doing community development, I bow to Dick Kate's expertise. When I do police, I bow to Todd, Jason, Public Works, Fire, Tate, okay? And when you're talking about contracting, you may bow to my expertise. When I'm talking about your job, I'm bowing to your expertise. They are in charge of the daily functions of the city, okay? They feel confident in this person can do the job. Maybe we should just bow to their expertise and put this in motion. That's our job, okay? Unless we know the inner workings of every day in that city hall, which we don't, we shouldn't be making that decision, okay? In fact, I tell you, I actually think that in some cities, the city administrator has the power to do that by his own authority, and in this city, with the charter, we don't, it's not like that. We have the final say. But I'm just saying to you, I think it's time that we bow to the staff, their opinion on what we should do here, and move on. Because if we don't, we're gonna regret this in the long run on the burden that these people have to take on to keep the city going. We have how many people in the city hall right now working in a small building, confined and all that, and taking on all these jobs. This city is growing again, and we're burdened. You are burdened, I can see it. So I'm just saying to you, what do you have? You have Kate, you have Phil, you have Jody, you have Jenny, you have Lisa, you have you and Darcy, right? Am I leaving anybody out? Okay, so they work with them every day. This is where, again, I believe the council has to bow to the expertise of your city administrator and staff to say, that's it. Do it. It's like, if you recall back on that one discussion back then, Rich scored all, asked Joe, and I hate to put Joe on the carpet, but I mentioned this to him before, that we asked him, what would you do with that city clerk at that time, if you recall in that discussion? And Rich said, what's your opinion? Joe didn't come back with a definitive opinion, and he left the door open, and then we ended up where we are, with that individual staying for longer. Had Joe maybe come back and said, this would not necessarily could make a change here right now, I think we would have gone that route, but we left it up to him. He is now telling you that he needs this decision to be made here and which way to go. He's telling you that honestly. We either trust him or we don't. I trust my city administrator. I think we all do. It's time to let staff bow to their expertise and let's move on. If we don't, I believe we're going to regret this. The more time it takes, the more burden it puts on them, and instead of dealing with today's business and tomorrow's business, we're going to be backed up trying to catch up from the past business we're not taking care of. And that is not being responsible on our end. That's just my say. Kevin, I'll leave it for you.
I'd like to offer a compromise. I'm not opposed to this in any way, shape, or form. Our next meeting is September 7th, which is 3 weeks from now. I would like to see the candidate in question bring something to the table. I was there during the part of the interview process, interviewed fine, et cetera, et cetera. I would just like to say, this is my commitment to the new job, because it's a big job, and it's gonna pay well. But again, what education, what background, what accreditation, what are you gonna add to the situation other than what you already know? And I'm sure she's very capable and competent. But again, we get called in question on some of the things and the processes and procedures that she does. Who had the rubber stamp before? Barb did. Who had the final say of the signature that could validate the work? Again, this young lady is still in the prime of her earning life and educational life, and I'd like to see, what are you gonna do if you get this opportunity presented to you? Well, some things you might have to set your hobby aside or something aside and get some accreditation to fulfill this job, the city clerk job. Again, the League of Cities, the Minnesota League of Cities, there's lots of things, there's courses and stuff. I just like to see, and again, I know that the city probably pays for some of that stuff if somebody's gonna make a commitment to do those things. I don't think that's a lot to ask for an individual, especially with, again, it's a big job and stuff, but it comes with some rewards as well. So meet us in the middle, or, meet us some way. 2 years? Awesome. Glad she's been here. She's been a big help and probably a big boon to the previous people who worked here. Apparently she did more of the stuff than the last person that was here. So I just want to see what she can bring to the table and the commitment level there. That's all I'm saying.
But she's already interviewed she already interviewed for this job already.
I'm not talking about the interview process, sir. I'm talking about any other courses or accreditation that she can round herself out with, again, for the city clerk position. Am I wrong, or am I grasping something that's not there? Aren't they supposed to have
I
some?
understand your points and all that, but I will tell you something, just like sitting in this chair, or you sitting in your chair, did I go to school to become a mayor? Of course I did. What I did was I sat there for 2 years, every meeting for 2 years.
Yeah.
I read 15 years worth of packets. I got involved talking to these people every day, learning about government in this city. I know the city very well here because I put the time into it. And I'm just telling you, anyone with half a brain can learn anything, okay? But and all I'm saying to you is that I'm looking at the bigger picture here. Staff has talked to your city administrator, said this is a way to go here, and it will help us in the long run. And if we don't do this, we are going to regret it because we're going farther back. 5 people had to cover for that last one. That took them away from the jobs they do on a daily basis and tomorrow's work, okay? In fact, to even be honest with you, with the minutes, we don't even have to do minutes anymore. We farm that out to a time saver company who does the minutes for us, as other cities have done for many, many years. That takes that off their plate because today's meeting is done tomorrow. After I hit this gavel at the end of this meeting, whenever that should be, that's old news. We have to worry about today and tomorrow's news. That business that we have to deal with. That's important to us.
Well, let me ask Joel then, is there anything you would like to see, the individual is primed and ready to go? She's been in the background, filled the back. Is there anything in the next year and a half that she should be better at, more proficient at, educated on? This is an easy thing to do. And I'd more than love to throw you a light preserver, believe you me. I respect everything you do, and I tell you that time and time again. But in the next 1 year, what would you like from a person with her background and current experience? What would you like to see within the next year? I was just asking for some goals and some guidelines on, you're coming in here, this is what we're gonna do, it's gonna pay you a reasonable salary, and et cetera, it's gonna be a lot of work. Again, hobbies, family, this and that, some of those things were concerns to some of the applicants back in the day. I just wanna make sure those concerns aren't, again, work is one thing, family is one thing, you gotta balance it all out. But we had some of those concerns, did we not?
So I would say this, if I did not think this was a viable option, I would not be presenting it here tonight. I do think that all things considered, this is our best option to move forward, because I think the biggest thing is we need to continue with our city business, and in the fall here, it's gonna get busy and more complicated and more work, more time consuming, and we need a city clerk to start processing some of this stuff. They are going to start going through elections training, very shortly here.
Right.
She's on board, she's been through elections. She didn't particularly run them, but she did work side by side with Barb Held, who did. She's been through that whole process. This gets us moving forward today. I don't have any doubt that she can do the job. and keep us moving forward as an organization. She'll still be on the 6-month probationary period, but we need primarily someone to get us through the work that's coming up.
But do you, again, you don't have to mention what they are, but do you have several boxes that should be checked off in the next, if this opportunity is given, and within the next year, some goals should be met?
Some continuing education for clerk schooling, I think would be on that list. That would be important, but that's something that I think a lot of clerks do as they get those roles. I guess I'm not totally familiar with the whole industry, but I don't know that most people get their clerk certification prior to becoming a city clerk. I think it's kind of once they find themselves in the role, they start working towards that over a multi-year process.
And that's all I was asking, if she has the full commitment of the job, then, and again, I'm all for it. If you say it is, then it's not the burden, but I'm on board with you. And as long as you say that within the next year, your expectations will be met, because again, I know it all comes back to you in one form or another, so.
Yep, I will be very explicit in the expectations going forward, and I do expect her to meet them.
I would like to know some background, whether it's a work session or otherwise, the salary situation, and how as far as steps and whatnot. I mean, we went through all kinds of cartwheels for a liquor store clerk and steps and this and that. I'd like to know what this position comes in at, et cetera, and again, expectations and graduation for that individual as well. Because, I mean, it's all part of the gig, it's all part of the package.
But let me ask you something here, if I may. How did Barb feel about this individual moving into her position?
Barb was amenable to, I think, working with whoever we
Did she
selected.
feel she had potential?
Yeah, I think she was comfortable with it. I don't want to speak for Barb, but I didn't get any indication otherwise that I recall. I mean, no one said, hold on, put on the brakes for X, Y, or Z to anybody, really.
I talked to Barb about it, she felt she was competent to handle the job, that she would grow into it. And more education is not a bad thing and all that. And as I think you've stated here, just what you just did, that city clerks do have more education on the road, as I'm sure finance directors pick up on things and public works does, and every one of our department heads picks up on things as they go forward. I mean, I even do that as a mayor, and I sure council members do too. I mean, I'm constantly reading things from League of Minnesota Cities, looking at everything I can that will help make our city better. So that's our education. But once again, I would just say to you that this is where we have to bow, I believe, again, to staff's expertise and what they say. And if you trust your city administrator, he pretty much just told you what he believes as far as going forward.
I have one more thing, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I have, I'll bring Todd and Dave into this. Dave, Todd, you hire a police officer, right? He goes through the FTO program. He's top candidate through the interview process, washes out. Do you pick the next person in your reserve unit? Or do you pick the next candidate in the interview process and ask them if they're still available? And I'm looking at it as from a legal standpoint, did she finish second? I wasn't there, I don't know who finished second. Did we make a call out to see if any of these other candidates who finished ahead of her were still available and interested in becoming a city clerk? I'm just looking at it legal-wise, like, I just don't want this crap storm to come over St. Francis that we're just hiring willy-nilly anyone within our organization. Todd, I'll let you answer, because I kind of know the answer because I've been through those processes and I see it at my level.
Yeah, from a police department standpoint, we would have to go back to our eligibility list, because there are certain eligibility requirements that they have to meet. Some of them, there could be some reasons that maybe even some of our reserves didn't apply. For one, they may not want to be a law enforcement officer, they may just want to continue volunteering. Two, they may not be eligible yet. So that's a reason we wouldn't go outside of our eligibility list to drop that.
So I knew the answer, and I knew that you would give us a straightforward answer. Dave, is there any repercussions of us going outside of our interview panel list? If she didn't finish second, I don't know where she finished.
I would say that anyone can always assert a claim. I would say that the eligibility list process that public safety is going through is different.
Right, it's not apples to apples, oranges to oranges.
And ultimately, the city council has the decision-making authority.
Right. I just wanted to get a clear answer. Kevin, are you sticking with your motion?
No, I'll withdraw my motion. After speaking to Joe Coleman, I'm more at ease. Again, in the Miami situation, I'd like to know what this person is coming in at in a step situation. And again, I would like to know, again, Joe's expectations within the next year, and if any accreditation is needed, or the individual, how she will enhance her position and rise up through the ranks then. So I would withdraw my motion with those considerations in mind.
And I commend you for opening your mind about that. I think that is right, as far as like, again, you trust your city administrator to make decisions on a daily basis, and as I mentioned before, there are other cities where they actually have the authority, not with council, but beyond council, to make employment changes, and in this case, our charter goes the other route on this, but again, you know, it'd be different, I think, in my own opinion, if we were more in tune with the city operations on a daily basis of what staff goes through. We're not. I don't know what Todd goes through during the day, I don't know what Dave goes through a day, or anyone, Kate, or Jason, or any of them. We don't know what they go through on their job during the day. And if they're telling you that they're worried about going farther behind on that, this is again where we have to bow to their expertise and move on. We'll know if we made the right decision. I'm sure we are making the right decision, in my opinion, but we'll know. And again, education, this person that we're talking about, she will want more education. She'll want to do the job well. And she knows what she has to do to step up to it. Otherwise, she wouldn't have interviewed it for it the first time, in my opinion. Sarah, do you have any other comments on this?
No.
Kevin, do you have any other comments on
No,
this?
sir.
Okay. Staff, do you have any comments on this that you want to put on the record at all on this? Rob?
Joe, I believe in you 100%. We have conversations all the time about, we just want the best for the city. I'm behind you 100% on this one. What I don't like is kind of the wishy-washy. I wish you would have came and said, hey, I vetted down the line, she would finish 4th or wherever, and I called those other 2 people and they're not available. This is our best decision. I would have liked to see that, because then I know you're doing 100% of what the city wants. If those other people finished before her, I would have loved to hear you vet them and said, hey, they just weren't available. I called them back, they're not here. This is our best choice, and we're gonna move forward and we're gonna make that decision. I'm gonna lean on you on this decision, but that's what I would like to see in the future, is just, when we go through processes, just cut all the stuff in the middle out and come to us with the best answer, the best decision I can make, because then I start thinking of processes and eligibility lists and things like that. And if you come to me and say, you know what, the other 3 people that finished ahead of her even took jobs elsewhere and they're not interested in coming to St. France. Beautiful thing, let's hire her.
Okay, let me just add something here to you, so maybe this will help your thought process on this. The second individual, okay, the runner-up to the one we had, okay, all applicants were told, and Kevin would know this, all applicants were told to put down what they earned from the cities that they were in, okay? This one individual asked 3 or 4 times to do that, did not comply, okay? She would not put down what she made. And on that, she was very stern, very adamant, and very strong on the sense that she had to come in at the top wage of the salary scale. No steps up. She wanted to come in top, okay? I tracked down to what she was making, where she was working, okay? And I will say to you, she was making no more than the individual we're moving up to this position now. She was at that. She was an assistant where she was too. But she wanted to come in at the top, and no discussion. And again, Joe asked her many times, why didn't you put down, tell us what you made, as everyone else did, and she would not comply.
Dave, I don't think that's a viable interview question legally. You can't ask about.
It's a consideration that the city can ask.
But if they refuse, it can't be that's the reason you didn't finish number 1. My thought, that'd be like saying, hey, you got any medical issues that might prevent you from doing this job?
Correct, but there are other ways that you can ascertain what that salary is.
And that's within her right too, to not disclose her previous wage. And that'd be like you trying to call the other employer and say, hey, how was this person? They can't give, but there's a realm of legal stuff you can ask the previous employer without getting you slapped. You know what I'm saying? And I think wages was one of those, and whether or not that was the deciding factor of not contacting this person, I don't think that was the deciding thing. I just want us to do 100% vetting next time.
Right, but
I'm
just-
gonna vote for this, we don't have to beat it down,
No.
I'm gonna vote for this. But I like Kevin, wanna know, we're starting at the bottom step of, city clerk. What is it? We're voting on stuff we have no answers to, so.
But just once again, just to let you know, everyone that did apply complied except the one individual.
That's fine, that's what they were right, that's a strong woman. I would've
Okay,
told you
well,
what I
we
would've made either.
You know what the nice thing,
Yeah, let's
you know what the
keep
nice thing about government,
Let's just-
Yeah.
you know what the nice thing about government is, we can always agree to disagree.
Right.
That's the nice thing of America, that's democracy at work, okay? But now we have to bow to the expertise of our staff, so let's please move on if we can. So, Ken, how do I address this on a motion here, or whatever? I mean, how do I do that, Dave, or are you gonna say it for me then?
It would be a motion to appoint the individual to the city clerk position and authorize staff to fill the deputy clerk position.
All right, I like how he said that. So in that case, do I have a motion for that? Huh? Do we have that on record, Houdini, I hope, right? We have that on record now?
Yep.
Okay, all right, very well said. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Rudnick makes a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilor Robinson makes a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Staff, thank you very much for your patience on this discussion, okay? All right, meeting open to the public, do we have anyone else? No. Okay. All right, department heads, Dave, this will be up to you now.
Mayor and council, before you is our July monthly comparison report in the standard format that you have become accustomed to over the past year and a half. As you will see in July, we continue to capture and exceed our goal of attendant response time with 7 minutes and 17 seconds on average for the month. As you've seen in my off-week memos as well, our volumes continue to be high this year. As of the last off-week memo, we're still trending about 43% above last year's run volume. And we have not seen that slow down through the month of July. Staffing remains stable at 6.8 firefighters on average per response. And our distribution between fire and EMS runs continues to kind of be that 50% threshold, 41 for EMS runs, 16% or 16 runs on the fire side. We're again happy to report that we had no flagged COVID cases in July. We hope that even with the variants coming about, that we continue to see that trend moving forward. But we do see a high utilization of our other variances. And for the month of July, we completed 11 fire inspections with no re-inspections. We're very happy to report that, considering our focus in July was our restaurants within the community. And as we know, during the shutdown last year and the restrictions that our restaurants faced, we were happy to report that we did not note any violations or need any re-inspections for our restaurant facilities. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
All right, well, thank you, Dave. Nice report. You know, I like the fact that I didn't see any COVID on this.
Correct. This is our third month in a row where we have not flagged.
Now, that's very good. And then also, as I mentioned to you before the meeting, that I see less fire but more EMS, which is, which I feel is, I'll give you an example here. Last Thursday, I was at Kings County Market with my wife, and Chris Bulera, one of our police officers, who actually was commended the day before, and I was at a ceremony with Sarah for another situation. He seemed to be a full-service police officer. But I didn't know, I didn't catch on right away why he was at the county market. My wife did, she saw that red bag he was carrying. I turned around and said, "Hi, Chris," and wanted to introduce him to my wife, and he pretty much just went right by me because he was on a call. It turns out that there was a young gentleman who was getting a COVID shot who didn't react well for fear of needles or whatever. And in fact, I talked to Todd earlier about commending Chris for that. Anytime I get in the way, always push me aside. But my point is that he was able to do that. And again, I guess my bottom line point is, it's just nice to know that I'm confident in our city staff, public safety wise, and our staff in general, by the way, but also our public safety in the sense that you could save lives. And that ability brought here to the city was never here before. Dave and Joe were aboard here, Joe Lawrence and Dave, and mixed with that in our police. Again, this officer had got an award for chasing someone and being shot at, and then the next day, he's in there taking care of somebody on a call before EMS gets there. I thought that was really, that's what I call full service. He wasn't there for shopping, I found out later on. But I just want to commend both public safety, but again, your fire, bringing the EMS here, I'm glad the fires are low, even in a hot, dry season. But the fact that you brought that to us, and then mixed and combined it with the police, makes us a strong community and safety for our residents, which is huge. So good report. Nice to see no COVID on it for 3 months. I really like that a lot. And response time and everything else looked really good. So to me, Kevin, I'll turn it over to you on your discussion on this.
No, Chief, just another good report, thank you very much. Also want to thank you and your staff for Night to Unite that came out to our neighborhood towards the end of the evening, and it was a hit. I got to meet one of the newbies as well, and I didn't post any of my pictures. I didn't have permission from some of the parents for the children to be on Facebook, so I didn't. But we took some pictures and whatnot. It was well received, and they spent unlimited amount of time there. As long as we wanted, they would have hung around. So we could have watered 3 or 4 yards at the same time watching the hose work. And so, but thank you very much, and very nice report.
You're welcome.
Rob, your comments?
Dave, nice report. Opposite of what the mayor said, I was saving lives before you got here, and I wish you would have took my advice on my expertise, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I think with the way the city's growing now, I'm kind of leaning towards, it's been a couple years, so I'm softening up there. But fire inspections is looking nice. I see that you got a good program there. I do appreciate you bringing in the opportunity, and I think that there was something missing before with the previous fire chiefs on spending money wisely. I think a lot of the firefighters were first responders, and there were a few EMTs, but there really wasn't the desire to go all the way and be, I don't want to be an EMT, I'm a little afraid of it, whatever their reasons. Or if they wanted to, they just weren't given the opportunity to. Correct. So, and I think that's what you brought to the fire department, is the opportunity to go back to school, become an EMT. And now that's flourished throughout the whole department. So I think that's a great thing. Great, shows great leadership. And I'm getting there. So, great report. No faults this month. All right. Thanks for your hard work. Thanks for bringing it up, the fire department up, to a level that I could be proud of too. Just to say that, it wasn't there. It just wasn't a priority for the city. And now that we have new council and giving you the opportunity to actually be a good fire chief, and there was chiefs and, well, we weren't gonna pay him much, and we weren't gonna do this, and we weren't gonna make him, come to the city and do what they needed to do. So I think that was a flaw that the city has as a whole for the fire department, and I think we're coming together with that a couple of years before I thought, but, we're getting there. Now we have a full-time fire chief, and our fire department is flourishing. EMT is, saving lives. Thanks, Todd, for all the things you guys do. Again, I don't want to, negate EMT and first responders and all that. You guys do emergency services to the utmost, and I want you to tell all you people that I appreciate everything they do to run in when others are running out. So I appreciate it. Great report.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Before I turn it over to Sarah, can I ask you one question here? When you were in the fire department, how many people actually had EMT experience? Out of all the people on the site?
Well, I think there was like 22 of us, and I think 6 may have been EMT. But there wasn't an opportunity. It's like, hey, I would like to go to school. Oh, that's not in the budget. Whether that was the chief's inability to come back to the administrator as the department head and say, I need more money, I want to do this, or the administrator telling the city council, hey, the fire department wants more money. I don't know, and kept their budget low. You can't do without giving them the opportunity to do. Dave didn't walk through every class of every firefighter that went to EMT and make sure that they passed their grades and have tests. He gave them the opportunity. And look at all of them flourish and said, you know what, I want to do that. I want to be an EMT. And he gave them the opportunity. He didn't sit in class with them and make sure they passed.
He
They all
expanded it,
passed.
and then he also got grants for training.
Exactly.
Right, so that's kudos to that chief
Yes.
on that. All I'm saying
I
to you is,
gave it to him.
what,
We're there.
what the department had back when you were there, to what it has today, is because of leadership that expanded that ability and got the grants out there.
It's hard to say because I don't think the Ramsey chief who came over for part-time was a bad chief in Ramsey. I think his hands were tied and the city was crunching pennies like nobody's business. And we kind of saw that, but in different ways that I don't understand why they were throwing pennies out the way they were.
By expanding
But they
the-
were crunching pennies so much that no one could do anything. No one could go to classes. Hey, I'd like to go to a class in Duluth for the fire department. No.
But let me ask you this, then, did they search for grant money like he has?
I can't say the Ramsey chief was the Ramsey chief and he was our part-time chief. He knew, I mean, he was qualified enough to run Ramsey's whole department as the chief. Why we didn't get those opportunities that we gave Dave the opportunity to do, and he came to us with grants and things like that, kudos. Way better than the previous chief.
And I would also
appreciate
I would also pat council on the back for that, for opening their minds to allow it to happen.
I broke my arm a time or two.
Okay, but I would just say to you, I mean, a perfect example is Kate getting DNR grant money for Seaward Park of $245,000. I think that's excellent too. So our staff has expanded well. So all I can say to you is, I'm not saying you didn't do the best you could with what you had to work with, but he took it to a different level because he got out there and found the money for training, which he was pro for. That's all I'm saying. Okay, Sarah, your comments.
Excellent report. Very, very good. I want to commend the firefighters that were at Night to Unite. They were bold enough to get out and dance. Todd pretended he didn't even know what TikTok was, so, you know.
Still no.
And, yeah, well, we'll be fixing that real soon, Todd. We have a plan. So, but yes, I just, you know, again, you just are, you know, the inspections were one of our big concerns, and you just keep picking away at them, and you're getting them done, and doing a great job, and you can tell that the morale of the firefighters has gone up a lot. They just have a new thirst for knowledge and opportunities to do things that I hadn't seen since I was sitting out there as well in years past, and that is because of the leadership that you've brought to that, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for all that. Okay, now we'll move on to council member reports. Kevin, let me start with you. Would you explain your national night out and how that worked for us?
We have approximately 43 homes, and 2 more going in as we speak, as Kate probably attest to, permits are being pulled and dirt's flying, so. But no, we sponsored a taco buffet actually, and the neighbors all came. We got a lot of RSVPs the last 2 days before the deal, and we had all 18 pounds of ground beef and 16 pounds of chicken or something like that. It's like, how much do we thaw? What do we do? Anyways, everybody came out. It was awesome, and we had tables set up, and people were very. It's really, you know, work and stuff going on, and kids in school. This is the only time the neighbors really actually got to come together, and we've actually made a directory for everyone there. We have everyone else's phone numbers, anyone who want to contribute, but we have a map of our blocks, and then where the houses are. So, but we have a lot of younger families coming in as of late, and so it's a good deal.
And the shade worked out good for you this time out?
Pardon?
The shade worked out good?
Oh yeah. No, I kind of been watching the sundial, the tree dial, as we're what's been happening there. So, no, that was the biggest one yet. I bet we had probably 65 people at the most.
Oh, wow.
I think that's including kids and whatnot. So, no, it was very well received, and it lasted until about 8:20. Started at 5. So.
And so has it increased
Yes, it has. Yeah.
And you started this, right, with your wife?
No, actually, a gentleman who, him and his family moved away, his daughter had horses, so he needed more property. He asked me one year if I wanted to help cook out, and I did, and we were out in the baking sun, flipping burgers and whatnot, but now he moved, so I took over and kinda did that, so, yeah, it was really fun, and, again, our police and fire responded, honorably, and, it was great, the kids all loved it, they were jumping inside the cars, and we were taking pictures, and,
Were they doing hoses with you guys?
yeah, one of the new fire persons came and she had the hose take off the truck and letting the kids use the nozzle and arcing it out there. And then the citizens were speculating whether it was fresh water or whether it was public works water. So that question never got answered, but it was going into the weeds. So I offered to have my lawn watered, and I said, please, by all means. And she acted like she didn't hear me, so I don't know.
What they don't know won't hurt.
We don't know the source. But no, a good time had mine all, and again, the first responders came and made it, put icing on our cake, so it was good.
And how long did it last for them?
From 5 until 3, until about 8:20,
Oh, really?
and it finally broke up, yeah.
Very good, very good.
Yep.
That's excellent.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, your comments?
I did attend the Night to Unite at the park. I pretty much bought out the ambassador's bake sale. I did let some people get stuff, but I went through and got stuff, and then Jackie let me know that they were gonna be shutting things down, so to come and make my second sweep. So, and I did attend the was it Medal of Valor? Is that what it's called? Okay, at the police station. And that was a very humbling experience. I mean, watching his family was emotional for me. It really hit home, like, you know, the thoughts of her and her daughter, you know, hearing, and I'm sure that they had heard some of it before, but, you know, it just reaffirms day after day how much our officers and our firefighters do for us every day, without hesitation. I mean, this guy had it together. I mean, he was able to communicate clearly while being shot at, while driving at high speeds, and he didn't miss a beat. And it was really an honor and a privilege to be able to be there. So thank you for inviting us. It was very, very heart-touching.
Thank you, Sarah. Rod, comments?
I also went out to the park for the Night to Unite, but I kind of want to go over to Kevin's neighborhood maybe next year. I don't know. Like, I don't live over here, but I know there's a great party going on over there. But I don't know. It's an idea, but God, the park is so fun, and it's just full of people, and the music was great, and just seeing all the city staff out there, and you know, just walking around, getting to know people and talking to people was great. But yeah, Night to Unite was a really fun time. Other than that, I think I'm gonna be missing the September 20th, meeting. I will be out of town, honeymooning somewhere in Vegas. But other than that, I got nothing else.
All right, thank you, Rob. All right, for me, by the way, I will say to you, as far as that, the officer, Chris Bulera, what I really respected about it was level-headedness. I mean, no one knows in a situation when you're being fired at. I have experience in that in combat, but I would tell you, I didn't know how I would act. I don't think anyone does. Anyone who tells me that they're not afraid, well, they're either stupid or lying, one or the other, in my opinion. But he kept a level head communication-wise, and I told him so, and I thought, you know, he didn't want recognition, as most police officers don't, but I told him there's a time where it steps up to that level of recognition, and that was one of them. But I respect him again for keeping a level head there and doing his job professionally, which is what your officers have shown, and same with fire too, by the way. You know, first responders, like I say, at this thing at County's Market was the police, and then ambulance came, along with one of our fire people came. but as I was trying to point out, I said this in past meetings, you know, ambulances aren't stationary, and I don't know if that will ever happen. It would be wonderful if it did, because that way it would save more lives, I believe. But, you know, they roam all day. So if you have that emergency, and you're lucky enough to have that ambulance in the city that the emergency's in, well, then your life's saved. But the key is, first responders and EMTs are the life-saving balance between that arrival of that ambulance to the next level of care. They are the ones that can make the life and death situation out of hand. So that's why I commend them so much. What happened in your time to what happened now was then, and this is now, lack of money, lack of training, lack of desire, whatever it may be, that has changed through leadership, and that's something, and that leadership also spills over from the council to open our minds to say, go for it, which we did, and he did. So this all comes together in a team working together for the benefit of our residents who we serve. That's what this is all about. I didn't make it to National Night Out till later, about 6:45. I think I was there 6:45 because I was unfortunately working at the liquor meeting doing some demo. But I had to finish that up, and then I came over to, I ended up getting the bacon butt barbecue, which was really good. And I didn't get the bacon wrap bratwurst, which was out. But I got some of the other stuff in that, and I was able to talk to everybody. So I got there, and I was happy in the sense that Kirby, I think, said something like 600 for the circus. I think we had 250 for National Night Out. And I told Lori the next day, keep worrying, because every time she worries, the event gets better. That's like, so, and now she's free after a bike rodeo and National Night Out for at least another year. So kudos to everybody that did their job there. And then on that night out, you might have some competition, Todd, for Lori from Kevin. I'm not sure about this now, as he's picking up with 65 people. I don't know. If he comes back next year with 130, we got some trouble. We have to really kick in there.
Kate will have a lot more permits to fill out.
Yeah, but on that, like I say again, I like the fact that we can discuss things here. I like the fact that we can work things out together. And at the end of the day, as I've always said from the day one I took office in 17 was, each one of our council members may have a different direction to get to the finish line, but the finish line is the same for all of us. What's best for the majority of our residents and can make our city go forward. And I truly believe that is our bottom line goal here. Again, you may take a left turn, I may take a right turn, but at the end of the day, the end result is what's, again, best for the majority of our residents. And I think I truly believe that staff and council, that is our goal. We are a customer service business, and we've changed the mindset in a lot of ways, even to residents now, because, I mean, Kate has a situation with one resident, I won't mention a name, who had experience in past years, and then she brought in about how our policies have changed, and that person was in a sense, caught off guard because of the way it was to the way it is, and was happy to see the change. And I think that's really what it comes down to is, Winston Churchill said, when asked in World War II in 1940, in that movie, Darkest Day, when someone said to him, you change your mind, and he says to the effect is, if you don't change your mind, you can't change anything. And I think that's really what it comes down to. And we have changed things in the city by looking at things in a different way. And I think it's been good for the residents in the city. One thing I'd like to ask Craig here while he's here, anything new on Poppy Street here with the assessments and anything like that from Oak Grove?
My understanding, they agreed to pay for the easements at what's been agreed upon with the residents, so that works moving forward. But of course, nothing's final until everything's done and they sign them, so I guess we'll see.
All right, but so they agreed to the $6,500 in easements. Okay. And then
So in the next month or two, that should be a done deal here, hopefully.
okay.
Can I ask a question on that, Bill? Are we still at the 165,000 plus they're paying for?
Right away.
Really? But
They're all right away.
the 165 is still in play on their part.
I thought it was 151 something, 152.
On 160.
I don't remember.
And some change, but.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number.
Which was down from 282.
Well, and they wanted 135 was when I stormed out of the meeting the last time I was there, so.
I think it was like just under one. I have the number at home. I think it's like under 152,000, and they're picking up to 6,500. By the way, just to let you remind you that Paul, Chuck is it from MSA had told them originally it's 25,000 for those easements, and then Mike Wiley came in and then put a number at 35,000.
Right.
But Craig actually did the work for Chuck and went and talked to those people.
I know.
And got it down to 6,500.
And we had to do their work.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
And we paid for credit.
Well, like I said, they're not signed yet, so.
Ain't over till
There's still time.
There's still time, getting down to 3,500, then maybe I'll sign.
Oh, gosh. Well, I live on that street, we need it badly, so, okay. Okay, and of course, then there's that talk about that sewer line too that we want to look at, should we get closer to that project? Okay, and then Dave, before we end here, would you bring us kind of up to snuff here on Ramsey, how that's, I'm not Ramsey, but Nalden, how that's going?
Nowlands going very well. We're working through the process of purchasing a new fire apparatus over there and some pretty significant equipment. We're gonna open up a hiring process over there starting probably September 1st. And working through some of the logistics, decaling and some of the rebranding stuff. So there's plenty of work to do over there yet. But we continue to be on track for our goal. Another big initiative over there is we're gonna start the pension process, which you guys went through here a couple years ago with the para-SVF program. So some big things over there. It's been a pretty successful first year for what we walked into, but things continue to trend in the right direction.
Okay, that's very good, thank you, Dave. You know, I also want to mention here, as Kevin mentioned something about the League of Minnesota Cities and training that they have. They also have training for elected officials, newly elected, and also ones that are more seasoned. So you can always check on that too if you feel. I went to a course with Joe Milbauer in the very beginning, but I do get mailings from League of Minnesota Cities on courses throughout the year that you can attend if you so desire. So, you know, education is a good thing, keeping abreast and top of things is always a good thing, never a bad thing, and then of course on the job always is a good thing too. So I just throw that out to you. On that, I will bring you a little bit up to date on the liquor muni. Things are scheduled going a little slower than anticipated, but with Jason's help and Parrish and Jeremy, we are pushing forward. I've had some legal advice coming from Dave on this too, by the way, for lighting a fire in the right direction. The subs are excellent on this job, but the fault lies really on the scheduling of the project manager, which we are keeping on top of. But to date, we found we've got a quality building going up there, and I think we're going in the right direction as far as how we'll speed it up now. But we have the right people keeping on top of it. So I commend, again, Jason Parrish and Jeremy for their work on that. And I commend staff and all for putting up that extra time necessary in the past year with the change we are making with the city clerk here. I know it's going to have a little burden on staff altogether until everything gets in place, but I have full confidence that they'll be able to handle it as they always have. So once again, you know, when the tough needs, you know, what is that old saying about when tough times are getting, how's that word out?
Tough kids go in and go and get out.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I like when you guys speak for me. Okay. Anyways, any other future business we have to attend to at this time?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
I have a question on the liquor store. Any equipment delays that you're still tracking or watching, and is there any opportunity for us to back charge the general for any of our time spent by our employees?
That's what we're looking into right now, by the way. We, like your thoughts, the same thought as on mine on that one. And as far as delays, right now, the construction business right now, labor shortages are there, and also material delays. But we found out that some of those delays could have been better scheduled had they ordered it right away. They didn't, like the doors and stuff like that. We have frames, we have no door blanks yet, which were 12 weeks out. We just found that out. So we are looking into the areas that we need to, and looking at where we can penalize and push them a little farther.
Are we logging any of our time, city's time,
All
staff?
of Jason, all
Oh, good.
of them, all of them. Yeah, we're
Thank
doing
you.
all of it, and then keeping very well good notes of that. So, you know, I couldn't do it without their help, and they've been excellent there every day, and all I have to do is ask, and they're right there, just as everything, every day with staff. All the council has to do is ask, and this staff responds. We may be a small city, a small engine, but we really do work hard, and I commend staff for doing it. Because like I say, I know the next months to come here is going to be a little burden until we get back fully on track. Like with Todd and his 12 officers, you know, once you're at full staff, it makes a big difference. Until then, you got to bite the bullet a little bit, but you're always willing to. I've never heard anyone here say no to anything that's been requested of them, and I really respect that and appreciate that. Darcy's going on vacation after on Thursday, I believe it is, for 2 weeks, so hopefully you'll have a good time. This gentleman's getting married here. Hopefully you'll have a wonderful time there. And,
4 days.
4 days.
Hope the weather cooperates.
I thought you said fourth marriage. I was holy.
Third marriage.
Well, you didn't ask me to do the ceremony. You didn't ask me to do the ceremony.
Third and 4 days.
Third one, 4
You
days.
didn't ask me to do a ceremony, so that's good. That'll get off.
Yeah, we want to get it done in 1 day.
Well, There you go.
Got everybody's attention there.
Well, I could have brought my gavel. All right, no other future business? All right, then I'm gonna adjourn this meeting on Monday the 16th at 7:13 in the evening.